As you may have noticed, it's a little warm in here, so I'm going to keep this kind of short, really short actually. So it just reminds us how grateful we are to have air conditioning at sometimes in life. So today in the gospel story, the sun is setting, Jesus ends a long day of teaching and saying to the apostles, let us cross to the other side, which is the other side of the Sea of Galilee, so they can start working on the opposite shore the next day. This week's reading is about crossing the stormy sea, which happens between Jesus' ministry in Galilee and his first encounter with the Gentiles. It's a time of change and challenge in Jesus' mission and for his followers. The story of the storm shows how Jesus' power was revealed to everyone who saw it happen. Like the disciples, we're all on a journey in this world, heading towards another place. It could be a mission trip, or a family vacation, or even our journey to heaven. On this journey, there will be times when it feels like our boat is being swamped. This can happen in many different ways. Think about times when we feel rejected because of our faith of God, or when people criticize us and make us feel worthless. Also, think about times when our faith is tested by things happening around us. So family life can certainly be full of unexpected storms. I don't know about you, but there are a few times in my life where an unexpected storm popped up and I was left feeling like the Lord was in the stern asleep on the cushion while the waves were crashing around myself and my family. So I've shared this story before, and I'd like to share it again. It's a good example for me of a storm and then the calm that comes afterwards. In April of 2008, my wife Maggie and I were eagerly expecting our seventh child, Claire. Those who know us might be thinking, wait, you mean Agnes? No, I mean Claire. Agnes made her grand entrance in 2011. We had just been to the doctor for an ultrasound and all was well. My wife's next appointment was scheduled a week later, so I didn't go with her that time. After all, it was just another routine appointment. The next week at her appointment, I received a call at work from Maggie. She was sobbing profusely, and in between cries, I heard her say 3 words I will never forget. Claire is gone. Maggie had gone to the appointment, and as usual, the nurse sought to find the baby's heartbeat. Maggie noticed the strange look on the nurse's face when she kept moving the monitor around and not hearing anything. The nurse left the room to get our doctor. He came in and was not able to find a heartbeat, so they immediately wheeled Maggie into the ultrasound room. As he did the ultrasound, the doctor finally looked at my wife and said, I am sorry, she's gone. Maggie had to drive the 30 minutes back home alone. There was a period of shock and disbelief for me after hearing these words. A day or two later, when we arrived at the hospital, I begged for another ultrasound just to make sure. The nurse was irritated at my request, but she went and got our doctor anyway. Our doctor, a good and faith-filled Catholic man, understood what I was asking and why. He came in with the machine and did the ultrasound for me. He put his hand on my shoulder and cried with me as I saw my daughter's lifeless body on that monitor screen. Maggie and I were very clear that we wanted to take the body of our child home and bury her in St. Joseph's Cemetery. Of course, The doctor fully agreed. The nurse was very negative about it, as this was not normally done when the mother was under 20 weeks pregnant. Nevertheless, we made our intentions firm. However, what transpired after Maggie woke up was unthinkable. The hospital refused to give us our child's remains for burial and basically told us we had to leave. When we refused to leave without her, the hospital sent a non-denominational chaplain to discourage us. The chaplain refused to acknowledge Claire as a human being, referring to her as a product of conception. We found this extremely upsetting. Eventually, we were escorted out of the hospital without the remains of our daughter. The waves were crashing in, and we felt very much like our boat was sinking. Even though we felt alone, we weren't alone. In our cries for help, the Lord brought people into our lives that helped us to get in contact with the president of the hospital, and he arranged for the hospital to release her remains to us. I will always be eternally grateful to a dear friend of ours who is a funeral director locally. She drove all the way to Columbus on her own time to retrieve the body of our child and help to make sure she had a proper burial. And thankful for all those God put in our lives to help us not only weather the loss of our child, but the trauma of the hospital's refusal to release her body to us. God hasn't promised that nothing bad will ever happen to us. He hasn't promised that every day will be easy and trouble-free. What we can be certain of is that He speaks to our faith. When storms come and everything seems to be falling apart, He will be there. He may not come right away, but He will come at the right time. We just need to be open and see that Jesus is with us in our sinking boat. Because Jesus' boat can never sink, ours can't either. He will never ignore us or act like He doesn't care. He will always be there for us. Let's continue praying to God during difficult times, but let's also remember that it's not enough to just cry out. Let us remember to keep our eyes fixed on Him and not on the storm itself. With Jesus by our side, evil cannot harm us. Let us keep faith and trust in Christ, whom even the wind and sea obey, and who has power even over life and death.